So far, we've talked about the forming stage, the storming stage. Now we're at the third stage, which is norming. Members have seen the coming together. They've seen a semi separation, possibly in the storming stage. And now they'll reconcile themselves to working together, the norming stage. So let's take a look at the norming stage. And the norming stage is a little bit different than the forming and storming. Those had steps. The Norman stage, we'll talk about characteristics. Members will engage in actively acknowledging their other members' contributions. They will actively acknowledge the welfare of other members, and they will also work to solve group issues. They're willing to change their behaviors and their preconceived ideas on the basis and the facts presented by other group members. So let's take a look at some of the characteristics of the Norman stage. These characteristics are cohesion, acceptance, cooperation, small talk, and groupthink. Cohesion. Cohesion is can be defined or marked as harmonious cooperation or harmonious cohesion. The group is really getting along. It's a pleasant time in the group. There's a free exchange of ideas. Members are talking between one another, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts. They're sharing their feelings. And there's an also increased amount of feedback during this time period. They're providing feedback to one another. They're sharing, they're talking. So you as a facilitator almost could step back during this stage because other members are stepping out, taking that leadership role, and that role is changing amongst members. So the cohesion, sometimes the group goals are abandoned so that the social needs of the groups can be pursued. So if there's a social need, one particular member is really having a hard time and really struggling, you will see that group mold that session into helping that person develop their skills and deal with their situation. So cohesion is your first characteristic of the Norman stage. Acceptance. Acceptance is your second characteristic. The only thing under acceptance is this is simply a greater sense of friendliness in the group, and the members really accept one another. They really are open to one another, open to one another's ideas. And that's really the only thing, characteristic definition of this characteristic that I can give. Acceptance, greater family friendliness, and they're accepting one another. The third characteristic is cooperation. The group is really, really starting to work together. There's really increased cooperation and increased teamwork during this time period. They're getting along with one another. There's a sense of common spirit. There's a sense of common goals. We're in this together. We can deal with this issue. We can deal with your individual issue, and we can also deal with the group's issues and goals during this time. So the cooperation is really, really high during this time period as well. So, cohesion, acceptance, and cooperation are three characteristics of the Norman stage that are positive. Let's switch gears because there are two that we need to talk about, two characteristics that are a little bit on the negative side. And the first one is small talk. Small talk is when there's a tendency for the group to have little small side conversations or small talk topics. It doesn't necessarily have to be a small break off subgroup. It can be the entire group just starting to engage in this small talk conversation or this small talk discussions. You're trying to go around the beginning of the group and do check-ins with the group members, but one person starts talking about their trip to Six Flags. And then the whole group starts talking about how they enjoy Six Flags and how they like it. And one person's like, the last time I went with my family, it was horrible. We had a really bad time. And another person talks about how hot it was. And someone else is saying they had a great time. And before you know it, 10 or 15 minutes have passed and they're still talking about Six Flags. Small talk. because that group is getting along so well and it becomes more of a casual conversation as opposed to more of a work group. So be aware of that. They can become overly friendly with their communications, get a little bit more relaxed and start maybe cursing a little bit more or calling people baby and sugar just casually, honey. So overly friendly in their communications during this time period. Uh, there's conversations that are unfocused that don't necessarily lead to the group goals or even their individual goals. They're just conversations because, again, that group is so comfortable with one another that they're really unproductive and unfocused conversations. And this leads to the group just kind of getting stuck. They're just kind of sitting there. They're coming, they're being productive, they're having great conversations. However, uh, it's no longer productive towards working towards the group goals. It's more of a casual meeting their social needs as opposed to meeting their um, required needs to deal with the life. So, small talk, be careful with that one. Um, all groups will have a tendency to have a little small talk, and that's normal. However, you will have to get a grip on that if it continues or gets out of hand. Our next characteristic is groupthink. Groupthink is basically a mode. The definition of groupthink is a mode of thinking that people engage in when they're involved in a cohesive group. It's a mode of thinking that the group members start engaging in. It's when they strive to be unanimous. They want this group to be so solid and so together that it begins to override their motivation to realistically evaluate and make personal choices. This groupthink looks like a member that goes into a group, they may have an issue, but once the group starts discussing that issue and that topic, that person all of a sudden no longer deals with an individual. It becomes a group issue. It becomes a topic that they want to answer and satisfy the group as opposed to what's best for them. Groupthink leads to carelessness, it leads to poor decisions, and it leads to low quality group actions. Again, groupthink is a mode of thinking that group members engage in when they're involved in a cohesive group. They no longer strive to be individuals, they strive to be more of a group. You see groupthink quite a bit now, without getting political, but you see it in our politics now. If one person thinks something, the entire group either thinks it or puts pressure on them to where they change their minds. So let's switch gears and see the harmful, discuss the harmful side effects of groupthink. Number one, the first harmful characteristic of groupthink is illusions of invulnerability. Illusions of invulnerability. This is feeling the group is beyond making mistakes. Hey, we have dealt with the storming stage. We dealt with several different issues that have arisen. So now, hey, we can kind of deal with anything. We've dealt with Sally's problem. We've dealt with Joe's problem. So, hey, that's illusions of invulnerability. It's when the group starts feeling they're beyond or above making mistakes. They can no longer make mistakes. The second way groupthink is harmful is self-censorship. This is when members censor their thoughts that are opposed to group ideas. So if you could imagine a group of 10 people and the group is talking about like addiction, alcohol addiction. And people are the group is like, hey, it's all or nothing. You have to go clean and sober. You can't drink anything. But if one member has a thought that's like, my issues is moderation. I just need to learn to just really limit myself to one or two drinks for the week and I'm good, as opposed to going cold turkey. That person will censor that thought. They will censor that from the group and not even discuss it, particularly if they feel like that group will gang up on them. So self-censorship is another way that groupthink can be harmful. Number three, pressure on dissenters. Pressure on dissenters. This is when members with different opinions are pressured to conform. Members with different opinions are pressured to conform. So, taking our same scenario, where you have 9 people in the group are clean and sober, and the one person is thinking moderation. And so they share that with the group. Hey guys, this week I really did good. I only had 1 beer. It's on Wednesday, and here it is Saturday. I've not had anything else. So, I think I'm doing pretty good. And boy, that group just lets them have it. What do you mean you had one drink? Um, None of us are drinking in here, and you're still drinking. What's going on? That's pressure on dissenters. Never mind that this person used to drink a case of beer a day, and they're down to one a week. That group just omits all of that information, and they are putting pressure on this one member. Pressure on dissenters. Number 4, mind guarding. Mind guarding. This is when outside ideas that might contradict the group's decision or the group's ideas are just flat out rejected. Mind guarding is when outside ideas that might contradict the group decisions are rejected. So, same scenario. This person comes back to group the next week. Hey guys, I've really been doing research on moderation, and check this out. Listen, on such and such website, and the group said, whoa, dude, we are here to be clean and sober. We're not here for moderations. If I start moderation, I'm going to relapse. And they start letting that person have it all over again. So mind guarding, it's when outside ideas that might contradict the group's decisions are rejected. Mind guarding. And then number 5, the fifth way that groupthink can be harmful is apparent agreement. Apparent agreement simply means that members are in agreement on the surface, but individuals may hide doubt from the group. So, same scenario. Our moderation guy, the one who wants to just learn to control his drinking, is just saying, guys, I think you guys are right. I'm just gonna quit cold turkey. I'm just gonna stop drinking complete, clean and sober, nothing else. I'm good. So why does he say that? He says that to satisfy the group. He says that to get them off of his back. So he's apparent agreement. He's appearing to agree to them, but internally he's like, hey, I'm doing pretty good with my moderation. I'm going to stick with this. So those are 5 ways that groupthink is harmful to your group. Be on guard. You will spot them. So if groupthink is harmful, it starts out nice, cohesion, acceptance, cooperation, the characteristics of norming, and then you have the small talk kick in, and then all of a sudden you have groupthink. How do you protect against this groupthink? Because if you see it taking place, you cannot stop it. It's really hard. So diversity, you have to plan on groupthink and deal with groupthink before the group even starts. So how do you do that? If you have the opportunity to screen members in your group, you be sure that you're screening people from different backgrounds and different ethnicities, and from different parts of the country, if that's a possibility. If you're stuck with a group of people that are from the same location, the same town, or the same city, you're dealing with the first bullet here, which is a cookie cutter look-alike group. They're going to look alike. They're going to act alike because they've only seen the world from one perspective. So a team made up of cookie cutter members are less creative in solutions. They are less diverse. And so that's going to really hamper the growth of that group. Diversity increases depth of the group. It increases a person's ability to say, hey, you're only using timeout. Hey, that's not going to work with this type of kid. You need to do this, this, and this. It kind of brings a different level or a different perspective to that group, as opposed to having everyone saying, hey, we're only doing timeout. Create strength. Diversity creates strength within that group, because it could create a storming stage, but hopefully it doesn't get to that point. But just bringing the strength into the group, the different perspectives strengthens that group and allows them to see and use different perspectives. And it also brings balance to the group. So diversity increases depth, it creates strength, and it brings balance to the group. So the only way to protect against groupthink is to have a diverse set of individuals in your groups. And the Norman stage, finally, just some tips for you um, in the Norman stage to help you through this time period. Share leadership. Be sure that the members are sharing leadership because again, you're going to be the one that's probably taking a back seat, and your members are going to facilitate and lead groups and discuss groups and talk about various topics, and you just let them roll with it. But share the leadership. Don't you be so um, controlling to where you just need to grab the reins and say, "Oh, this is what we're going to talk about tonight." Let the group flow. Let the group flow. Another tip is just simply just facilitate. Um, Positive facilitation, be productive. Promote the data flow that's going through the group. Just keep it going. Keep people engaged. If you notice someone's not talking very much, just go ahead and call them out and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" and get them involved. Um, the data's already flowing in groups, so just make sure that it's productive and that it's purposeful. So that's your job in the Norman stage. We will um, study these and discuss these a little bit more in class, and then take a look at some skills this week.